A Louisville civil rights icon is blasting a Republican U.S. senator's efforts to reach out to the black community.
WDRB's Lawrence Smith explains why Kentucky's first African-American state senator says blacks should not buy what Rand Paul is selling.
You want to be a what?
Rand Paul was back in West Louisville today touring the Village Learning Center. It's a church-run after-school and summer program designed to raise the performance level of students.
One of the new things that I think could still help education both here and across the United States is competition.
That's what we need more than anything else in the West End of Louisville is education and quality education.
But while Paul was here promoting education reform as a key to prosperity for African Americans, a Louisville civil rights legend was essentially calling Paul a wolf in sheep's clothing. In an op-ed in today's newspaper, former state senator Georgia Davis Powers says while she always supports efforts at inclusion, quote, Senator Paul is forgetting a critical concept. You must earn our community's trust and support. We don't give it freely. We especially don't give it to leaders who shake our hands while spitting in our faces. Powers then goes on to list a series of civil rights and social issues she says Paul has either questioned or opposed, from the Civil Rights Act to increasing the minimum wage.
But I think Senator Powers did an excellent job of laying this out. You can say these things, but what do you do?
Paul says it's all partisan politics and pointed to his efforts in education and criminal justice reform. And he repeated a controversial claim he's made before.
No, I really do stick by with what I said. I don't think there's anybody in Congress doing more for minority rights than I am right now.
And some African Americans say they're willing to give Paul a hearing, including Mendel Grinter, who says he voted for President Obama.
There's a problem, we know there's a problem, and we have to fix it. And I don't think it matters who is the person fixing it, it just needs to be fixed.
Powers did not respond to a request for an interview. Lawrence Smith, WDRB News.
A legendary civil rights activist in Louisville is warning African-American voters. Georgia Davis Powers says don't be fooled by Senator Rand Paul's outreach efforts in Louisville's West End.
WHAS 11's political editor Joe Arnold talked with Rand Paul today after the publication of a newspaper column by the former Kentucky state senator.
So what do you want to be when you grow up?
As Senator Rand Paul visits students getting a summer education boost at the Midwest Church of Christ, his increasingly frequent stops in Louisville's West End are now being met with a warning from civil rights activist and former state senator Georgia Powers. Do not be fooled by Senator Paul, Powers writes in an op-ed in Monday's Courier-Journal. You must earn our community's trust and support, Powers continues. We don't give it freely. We especially don't give it to leaders who shake our hands while spitting in our faces.
Yeah, that's kind of harsh rhetoric, I would say. No, I really do stick by with what I said. I don't think there's anybody in Congress doing more for minority rights than I am right now.
Paul wants to return voting rights to nonviolent ex-felons who've served their sentences.
I've come to the West End and visit even ministers sometimes who can't vote because when they were 20 years old they had a scrap with the law.
Paul plans a newspaper op-ed of his own this week and will introduce legislation with New Jersey Democrat Cory Booker.
That talks about giving kids a second chance, letting them expunge their records.
Powers writes Paul has a troubling belief system and consistently opposed policies that advance our community. Yet the church's pastor says if Powers really wants to improve people's lives, she'll join Paul's efforts to improve education through charter schools.
And as long as Senator Paul is going to support efforts of quality education in the West End of Louisville, I'll shake his hand.
But how does Paul convince others he's not a wolf in sheep's clothing?
I don't know. I mean, you just have to do what you do, and I think people have to try to judge you for your actions as opposed to, I think there are people who clearly are motivated by partisanship, one party or the other. It's all one party or the other.
Now, when Georgia Powers was first elected in 1968, she was the only woman, the only person of color in Kentucky's state Senate. She served there for 21 years. Joe Arnold, WHAS 11 News.